Welcome to Wrestling with Heart, a podcast looking at pro wrestlers giving back to their community. Join me, Stanley Carr, as I interview wrestling's hottest names who use their platforms as entertainers to raise awareness and do community service. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Heart. This is the show where we talk with professional wrestlers and professional wrestling personalities about their lives in and out of the squared circle, as well as doing acts of community service and charity work, helping others, always lending a hand. We're all about positivity here on the show, and this week I've got a very special guest. He is an OVW legend, former heavyweight champion, Southern Tag champion, hardcore champion. He's currently working for SICW, and we've got a lot to talk about today. He's got a wonderful story. I'm very pleased to welcome the one and only Flash Flanagan. Welcome, Flash, to Wrestling with Heart.
How you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing? Thank you for coming on.
Not too bad. Yeah, we've had some hiccups there along the way to get on here, but we're here now finally.
Yeah, awesome. So let's get into it. Now, you're from Indianapolis, right?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Tell me about your upbringing.
I grew up outside of Indianapolis in a small town. It's in Martinsville, Indiana, and I'd always wanted to be a pro wrestler. And a buddy of mine I went to school with was telling me, hey, there's a wrestling ring set up over here at this one building. And it was just a rundown, abandoned building. There was nothing going on there, but a guy had a ring in there and he was training people. And I just kept riding my bike over there. I'd drive over there and keep going constantly. And then I thought maybe I could break into this place and tear this ring down and steal it. But when WrestleMania was up here, the week after, I drove over there on a Sunday and there was a bunch of cars there. And I went inside, and that's when I got introduced to the business while I was still in high school and started training and went from there.
Wrestling fan for life. I love to hear that. Who are like some of your favorites growing up?
Piper, Savage, the Road Warriors. Basically everybody. I mean, I was just a wrestling fan. I loved wrestling, and if wrestling was on, I was watching it. And I'd laugh now when they talk about, wrestling's oversaturated with on TV so much. Look back in the day, in the 80s, it was on almost every night. And now you get a 3-hour show. But I mean, you had wrestling superstars on Saturday mornings. You had TBS on Saturday morning. Then you had 605 wrestling. That was all on Saturdays. So you had 3 shows there.
Yeah.
And then Sunday you had Wrestling Challenge, and then All American Wrestling on USA Network with them, and then you had TBS again Sunday night.
Yeah, and
it was just wrestling constantly, and I never missed a beat of it. No matter what I was doing, I had to make sure I was home for wrestling.
It seemed like nowadays there's more wrestling on than there was, when I was a kid. You had your Raw and SmackDown, you had your TNA, but other than that, wasn't really as big, compared to the 80s and 90s when you had like a wide variety of programming, unless you lived somewhere where you had like local territories or local promotions airing television shows.
Well, you had characters, and then you had storylines, and storylines were good. Characters were good.
So you got your start, in the business. You briefly mentioned you started training. Tell me about, the process of becoming a wrestler, because it's not a joke. It's not easy,
No, see, when I first, I go to the shows and I was talking to the guys and everything, and Sting told me, "You better think about it, kid." I told him I was going to be a pro wrestler, and I didn't understand what he meant. Think about it. What do you mean, think about it? And then when you get in the business, then you really realize what he means. It's like the journey getting there is funner than the destination, because you hang out with your friends, you're on the road, you're having a ball, you're doing this and this and this. But then once you make it, then you got all the backstabbers. Then they got guys trying to cut your throat because now you're trying to take their spot and they don't want to give up their spot. So guys are going to stab you in the back and cut your throat. So that's the downfall of making it.
It seems like you have to earn your keep and you have to earn your stripes by constantly hustling, whatever you have to do to move up the
Well,
ladder.
I'm not the kind of guy who's going to cut your throat. My whole thing was I'm going to go out there and tear the house down. And my thing was to push everyone else. Hey, come on, let's go out there. And when someone would come back and like they were all complimenting, oh, this match was great. I'm like, all right, I got to step it up now because I'm going to go out there and try to top that one. So that was always. But again, there's a pecking order on how matches should go, and it's all changed.
It's definitely evolved from the 80s and 90s.
Because when I started, I was one of the smallest guys. And when I started, I was 175 pounds when I first started. Then I got myself up. I remember I just got over 200 pounds. And I'm thinking, all right. And I was still the smallest guy, and I still needed to put size on. And I worked with Rip Rogers was working with us, and he was getting us ready. He was teaching us about TV and all that, and he was going to take us to WCW. And he goes, "I would take you, but right now you're too small." He goes, "You put a little bit more size on, and I'll take you down there." And the next time I seen him, I put some size on, and I got to go down to WCW and do some jobs. I worked with Vader and Earthquake, which was cool. Vader was in. Everyone talks about how stiff Vader was. Vader was easy as could be on me, and he didn't give me those punches in the corner or anything. I don't know if maybe Harley told him, "Hey, don't hurt this kid," or what, but he didn't hurt me.
He was a massive guy. I mean, like what, 350 pounds?
Well, I mean, you felt it. He laid it in, but it was safe. So I ain't gonna complain about that.
Big guy. I mean, he was in Japan for many years, and like you said, he was in WCW, then went to WWE, had a run there, and just I think he got inducted into the Hall of Fame late last year or 2 years ago, I think. You were in OVW for many years, like one of the first, I believe, to be in the actual territory. Tell me about that, what that experience was like, and I think you also signed with WWE for a developmental deal.
Yeah, we were a wild bunch, and there was so much talent there that got overlooked that should have gotten signed that didn't. But there was tons of talent that made guys look better than what they were.
I mean, it was a who's who of people that were there. I'm talking about John Cena, Batista, Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton, Nick Dinsmore, Eugene was there, Rob Conway, the Bashams, just a who's who, Shelton Benjamin. I mean, you were like with the elite class of people that went and, became stars.
And I was there before all of them except for Doug. Doug Basham was there, and it was Doug Basham to me, and then the rest of them started coming in.
And you were there when it first opened?
I was there when it was Danny Davis School of Professional Wrestling. And then whenever some things have happened, then it ended up becoming Ohio Valley Wrestling, and that's when he got the television deal and all that, and it took off. It really took off after I left.
How long?
I was there, right place, wrong time.
How long were you there for?
For OVW?
Yeah.
Shoot. Whenever OVW started, I can't remember the year that it actually started, but I was there until July of 03. No, of 02.
So you were there.
I went to Puerto Rico. I went to TNA after that. Then I went to Puerto Rico.
Okay. Well, what was it like working with a lot of those talents? Because I mean, they became huge.
Well, that's where like independent wrestling people don't get it. I mean, take a look at it now. When we had independent shows there for OVW, imagine going to an independent show and you're paying $10 a ticket or whatever. And you've got Brock Lesnar, Shelton, you got all those guys, Orton, Cena, so you got Batista. Every one of these guys are on this independent show, and you can meet every one of these guys. And now you go to independent wrestling doesn't get enough credit because that's where guys are found. So you could have went to an independent show back then and seen all these guys and met them pretty easily. But people don't, they look at wrestling, it's just basically WWE or AEW, which.
Well, you got to think about this too. I mean, CM Punk eventually went to OVW and he took off, for,
Well, he'd
all
been around
intents
for
and
he'd been
purposes.
around for a while also. He
Right.
worked in the indies and
Right. But I'm talking about in terms of making that jump from the indies to OVW and then eventually hitting the big time in WWE. I mean, there, and was Daniel Bryan in? No, he wasn't in OVW. He was in Memphis.
Brian, he was in Memphis.
He was in Memphis.
Yeah.
But, same thing. I mean, those guys went from the indies to developmental. They had to learn a whole new thing, and then they made that jump to the main roster, and they became stars. It's amazing to see the progression of tomorrow's stars that eventually become the stars of the present. And I feel like developmental is supposed to be that. Were you expecting to be signed at a certain point with the company?
I went out there and I was trying to get signed, and they had me going out there. I was the show stealer and all this. The man loves to steal the show. And I was going out there just bashing WWE because they brought Rico Constantino in, and Rico, I got stuck working with Rico, and Rico had tons of talent. He just didn't know when to do moves, but he could do all kinds of stuff. So I did a thing where we had a tag match where we were winning the match, and Rico throws the guy over the top rope, and we get disqualified. And so we did a promo, and I'm like, I just came out here to let you know I will never ever team with you again. You've got to be the dumbest guy in the world, not knowing the rules. It was like the WWF only hires stupid green guys. So that's where we went from there, where with me against Cornette and WWE. And so I was bashing everybody. The whole thing was, oh, WWE hires you. What about me? Basically, I'm doing the whole thing trying to get myself noticed. Why can't I get a job? And all these other guys are getting hired. And then me and Dinsmore got signed at the same time, but mine was kept hush. The whole thing, because so I keep my gimmick going. So then they brought Jericho in, and I worked with Jericho, and I put the title on the line for a contract. And if I could beat him, the WWE would sign me. Well, as soon as we locked up, my tricep popped. I tore my tricep as soon as we locked up. And I was in so much pain. And I kept telling myself, like, man, this can't happen now. And we went and did some move, and it got screwed up. And I rolled out to the floor, and I'm trying to think. Now we're calling this all on the fly. And like, man, I go, I'm hurt bad. I can't do anything with my arm. And I figured if I got my adrenaline going, I could block it out and go and deal with it. So I told the referee, go tell him to come get me. So he came and got me, and then we started. We just boom, started going at it hard. And in the match, if anyone's ever watched the match, seen it, every time I'm doing a move and I got to catch myself, you can see the pain in my face was when I'm landing, catching myself with my arm. It was hurting. But Jericho put me over, and then the next night, Kevin Kelly he comes out there and announces that because of my victory, that WWE signed me to a developmental contract. And so I'm jumping up and down, and actually the crowd started cheering me. They were happy, like finally. And here I was a heel, and they were all excited that I finally got signed because they wanted to see. They thought I deserved it, and I went out there and yeah, this is great. I can't wait till this Monday. I'm going to go out there and beat Steve Austin, blah, blah, blah. And then I snatched Kevin Kelly because Kevin Kelly goes, no, or it was Kevin Kelly or Bruce Pritchard. But they were like, no, Flash, you don't understand. You're under developmental contract. I'm like, yeah, that's right. You're developing new stars. I'm the new. I'm playing off like I'm an idiot. Yeah, you're developing the newest star. I can't wait till this Monday. I want to win the title and all this. It was no developmental means you're signed, but we're keeping you down here in the developmental territory until we think you're ready. I'm like, what? And I snatched him by the jacket, and when I snatched him, it hurt so bad. And so we did an angle where Doug Basham came out, swung the chair, and he hit my arm. But instead of like I had my arm to my side where I gave him my arm, he hit me right in the side of the head, got my ear.
Ooh.
I thought he ripped my ear off.
Jeez.
And so then because they were just going to announce that I lost the title someplace, some unknown town. But I go, no, I'll go out there. I'll drop the title. And so we went out there and I dropped the title. Then I would have surgery. And my first match back, I was on the road with a WWE. We did a show in Evansville, a house show, and me and BJ Payne worked with Randy Orton and Mark Henry. And then went back to OVW, did that until July. I got the phone call that I was being released.
Oh man, that sucks. Because it seemed like you were on a roll.
Never fails. Story of my life.
Nah, sometimes you just got to pick yourself back up and keep going again. So TNA, I guess, called you right after that, right?
Yeah. And then I went to TNA, and my name, and they're going to call me Cobain. All I was told, dye my hair black. And I was part of the disciples of the new church. And so I get there and they go, what kind of gear do you got? I got my black tights and this and this. And he goes, what would Kurt Cobain wear? I'm like, I don't know. And so they'll go get some jeans and a t-shirt and dirty it up and stuff. Because the whole thing was I was suicidal. They gimmicked my wrist, like I'd sliced my wrist and all this. It was like I did things to try to kill myself, and it was pretty dumb. But I went and got some jeans, a t-shirt, and I went to the ring, and the crowd started chanting Nashville Brawler. And once I heard that, I came back to back. I seen Jeff Jarrett. I go, that's not going to work. I'm dead already. And then I changed it up a little bit different, but the damage is already done. And so I showed up the following week, wasn't booked. Following week, wasn't booked. And like the following week, it wasn't booked. And I was like, man, I can't keep coming down here and not being booked and not make no money. I go, screw this. So Cornette called Dutch, I think. And then Bushwhacker Luke called me up. They're bringing me into Puerto Rico. And I known Victor Quiones and Savio Vega and all those guys from when I did the lightweight tournament in WWE. So I went to Puerto Rico, and you always hear all the horror stories and everything, but I loved it. It was great. I mean, and here's the thing, and I learned this is one thing I learned when people start talking about places you go, like, oh, you don't want to go there, it's bad, blah blah blah. Well, if it was so bad, why do you keep going there? So, and then it's like, okay, people will tell you it's so bad you don't want to go there, so someone else isn't trying to get booked there. That people are worried about losing their job. Like, oh, they'll bring so and so in, and I can't come back down there. Someone else has got a good job. So everyone tells everyone, oh, it's so bad. It's a horrible place to be. You don't want to be there. But I loved it, and I had a blast.
Yeah, it seemed like, you found yourself. You're able to have a sustainable career on Puerto Rico.
Well, working almost every night, working 4 nights a week, and summertime, sometimes 5. So you had a couple of days off to regroup, and it was another wild time. a lot of things we can't talk about, but
Yeah, yeah,
we definitely had a blast.
definitely. As we're taping this, I know the WWE just ran Backlash over in Puerto Rico. They brought in Savio Vega for a match last night, a couple of cameos. So that's pretty cool to
Oh,
see him
really?
around. Yeah, yeah.
Good.
Bad Bunny, the musician, he was wrestling. They had him Savio Vega give him like a Singapore cane to whack Damian Priest, his opponent, with. That was
Man.
kind of cool. Also, Carlito, Carlos Colon, his son Carlito,
Yeah.
he was there too. So the crowd, I saw some clips of it online. They were cheering the both of them. So it's crazy, man. They love that stuff. They love wrestling.
The, they love violence. The crowd, and if there was something violent, if there was violence, they loved it, and I liked the violence also. So it was perfect. It was perfect for me.
Any fun memories of opponents you've enjoyed working with over the years? It could be from any company you've been with.
I always had good matches with Bison Smith in Puerto Rico. We always clicked. These are the Puerto Rico guys. But Bison was from California, but me and Ricky Banderas, we had a long feud, and he was fun to work with. Chicano, oh, boy, and then OVW. Oh shoot, everybody. I mean, like I could get in the ring of Dinsmore, and it was just like we knew what the other ones could do, and we could just go out there and wing it. Boom. Doug Basham. I always clicked with Doug. When me and Doug were a tag team a long time ago, we could tag, and we as soon as we tagged, it was like we knew what the other one was thinking when it came to double team moves.
Mm-hmm.
We could tag and not really even have to say anything. Boom, and we knew what the other one was thinking. Then but then there's other guys. Me and Trailer Park Trash. He was great to have matches with. Jason Lee. Jason Lee was another talent that he was very good. He would always do when Muda would do the handspring on the rope or
Yep.
come back with the elbow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jason could do that, but he would do it where he'd mess it up or he'd hit the ropes, and he'd always do it for my amusement. I'd hey, go do the springboard handstand, and he'd go and he'd screw it up. He's like, oh, I don't want to do that. It hurts my neck. But next thing you know, he's in the ring and he does it just to get me to laugh.
That's funny.
But like I said, a lot of the story there were so many funny stories that went on there, and I gotta what I don't want to call anyone out. I just know we I mean in, in Puerto Rico, I'm not gonna say the guy's name, but he came. We it was bad because we got hooked on somas, and it's one of those things. Uh, it's the bad part about it is the cause of death of a lot of guys,
Mm-hmm.
and you fall in that you fall off of it, man. You start taking somas and you get hooked. Didn't intend for it; it just happened, and I got hooked. Or I was pretty bad, and Salmio and them they seen how bad I was, and they sent me home so I get myself cleaned up, which I'm glad they did. But we were in the van, and when the guys picked me up, and he'd been drinking, and he had taken some somas, and we pull into the Walgreens. I had to run in and grab something to drink, and I run in there. But when we pull in, he hits the side of a car. It was a new one, it wasn't a cheap car, and he hit the side of it. He goes, "Oh man, what should I do?" I go, "Man, we're both messed up. Better get out of here." So he backs up and rips the side panel off, and we take off. Well, lo and behold, they had us on the monitor on the surveillance cameras. So they had the license plate number, but the van is in Victor Keown's name. So they showed up at Victor's house and arrested him. But we got out of it. I don't know what happened, but we we got out of it. And I'm sure Victor wasn't happy about that because I never heard anything about it.
It's
But because I wasn't driving, they got the other guy, and Victor never said anything. But Victor always said I had a job as long as I wanted one. So he was good to me. I can't ever say anything bad about Victor. Then there was a flood going on. It was a monsoon hit, and the roads were flooded. And we're going to Culebra, a little small island outside of Puerto Rico. We had to catch a ferry boat, but it was pouring down rain. And the guy I'm following, we see all this water in the road, and he decides to turn. And when he turns, he goes right down into a ditch, and the water covers the hood of his car. And I'm like, I'm not going that way. And then I watched this little bitty like Fiat drives right across the water. And I'm like, well, shoot, I can make that little car can go through there. So start driving the van through it. And when I drive through it, all of a sudden, and it dies right in the middle. And like, oh man. So we open the door up. We open the doors up, water just rushes into the van. I'm like, oh man. So we all got out. We pushed the van up onto the hill, and it was out of the water. And like, man, I just ruined this vehicle. And they took it in, and the electronic stuff, it was all messed up, and so we ruined that vehicle.
Oh no.
And then we got another van, and it got wrecked.
So you guys were stuck for a long time.
Well, there are other people coming along, so we got the call, and they ended up coming and getting us. So we made to the boat, but the van had to stay there. But yeah,
that's crazy. Wow.
It's the things outside of wrestling that people don't see that.
No.
We done some pretty dumb things.
Well, as long as you learn from them, right?
Then I got to tell this because I want to tell this about Abyss, because Abyss got me good. He was asleep. We were at the beach, and he was asleep. And I took a beer bottle and I stuck it in his butt crack. and people are walking around laughing. But he got me back, and because I had my camera, and they took a picture. He pulled his pants down, and he's got his butt in my face, and they took a picture of it. I didn't know about it, and so I got my pictures developed. I get the picture, and I see it, and I'm like, all right, you got me. But those are things we would do. We try to entertain ourselves.
Yeah, it's what you call ribbing.
Yeah, some of them were pretty good. I mean, some of them.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah. So you're now working for SICW with Herb Simmons. Tell me about what it's like to work over there.
It's great. This is how that all got started. I was doing a show in Evansville, and Ricky Morton brought Buck Robley with him, and Buck seen me, and he was drunk. He didn't watch any of the matches. Ricky just put me over to him, and he called Larry Madison, and Larry calls me up and says, "Hey, Buck, I talked to Buck Robley, and he said you might be a pretty good talent to bring in." And he told me about how far of a drive it was. It was only about 4 hours. So, like, all right. And so we talked and everything, and he brought me in. And I always tell people, you're going to use me for a while. Bring me in as a heel. You bring me in as a heel, they will hate me so much that they'll end up liking me, and they'll want to see me do the deeds of the heels. And sure enough, they came in there, was a heel, and they hated me. Uh, I knew the crowd was starting to like me whenever the Cubs won the World Series, and I went out to the ring with the W flag and wearing my Cubs jersey and all that. And as also, I just had shoulder surgery, so I'd been out for a little bit, but I came back in and I cut the promo, and the whole thing was I was ready to get back in the ring, and the guys I was working with, because I had the sling on, and I just came in and said, I just want you to know that I'm ready to come back, and took the sling off. The crowd popped, and now they love me. I was like, there's no sense in turning me. I mean, I had people do that before. I was a heel, and they turned me babyface, and they did not want to see me turn back. They wanted me as a babyface, and they turned me heel, and that was it. They didn't care anymore. It just wasn't the same.
Let's talk about some of the stuff outside of the ring here. What kind of stuff do you do in terms of, giving back to your community?
Well, I mean, I've done charity shows, and help out fire departments and all that, but I'm like a hermit, man. It's I when I'm home, I turn it off, and I don't want to be around anything. I can be by myself. I can be by myself and just watch. I support the Cubs. I'm a Cub fan, die hard.
Diehard fan. You enjoyed watching the. I mean, that had to have been an amazing feeling seeing them win the World Series, like for the first time in like 100 years.
And I thought they were going to blow it, and it was when I got choked up when they won it. It was like it was just one of those things. Like, man, all these years they finally did it. Great.
So you've worked a bunch of charity shows. Tell me about some of those. Like, what were they sponsoring? What were they supporting?
uh, shoot. I mean, we've done shows where I really don't know. I all I know is they say, hey, we get this show here. We're going to do a charity show, raise money for. So I'm hoping the money would go to whatever we were doing instead of someone trying to pocket the money. But as far as I go, I mean, it's have Boots will wrestle. It's just I don't know. I know, like you said, raise money for the fire department. It's all I know. I said, hey, we're doing a fundraiser for the fire department. All right, fundraiser for this and this. Okay, and I assume that's where the money's going.
Have you helped out with any charity organizations or done some volunteer work outside the ring?
I've the children's hospital. I asked them one time because my grandpa was in the hospital with cancer. He had leukemia,
Oh,
and I was going to go and while I was there, I was going to visit. And he go, do you have the kids or anything? So I don't mind going around and saying hi to the kids or anything. They can meet a pro wrestler if they want to, but yeah, we can't do that here. Like, all right, but it's sad. In Puerto Rico, they would have us go and do these things, and you see these kids that are dying of these diseases and stuff, and it was depressing. And we go there, and they wanted to see their Puerto Rican heroes, and we don't speak Spanish and anything, so they're talking to us, and I don't know what they're saying, and they don't know what I'm saying. But you sit there and you see them, and it's like, oh man, you feel bad for the kid, and it's just one of those things you don't forget. Don't take things for granted.
no, you don't. I mean, that's devastating. To see people that are, going through hard times and, they're looking up to somebody, that, could help them make a difference in their life. Just, man, that's heartbreaking.
It was like my my grandpa died. My Grandpa died of cancer. Then, like 3 weeks later, my uncle got killed in a car wreck, and then my mom died of cancer, and then almost a year later, my dog. And some people think, "Oh, dog," but this dog was everything in the world to me. I had 18 years, and I think he had cancer, and he died. And it was watching him deteriorate. It was terrible.
I'm so sorry.
He losing him because the boys all knew him. He got his name that his name was Humper because he'd go to town on your leg and hump it, and the boys would be there in the apartment, they'd be passed out, and all of a sudden he'd walk by, he'd walk over their foot and look at them, and all of a sudden he'd snatch their leg and he'd be going to town, and we're just sitting there laughing like, this is great. This is great. I'm not gonna wake you up, just let him go ahead and finish.
Wow.
There were a lot of legs he humped.
Wow, man. Just see, when you have those memories, those are important, because you remember them. The people or the animals may be gone, but you'll always have the memories in here. So, it's just.
Well, I got him. He's sitting in here. I had him cremated. I was like, whenever something happens to me, he's going with me.
Oh, so. Wow. So, it seems like you've worked with a variety of different organizations. What was like your most favorite one that you've done?
Yeah, I love Puerto Rico. It's like they all have a special place. It's like Smoky Mountain Wrestling was great. It was like these are all the guys I grew up watching, and they were also helpful and helping me out. They would give me advice and all that, and just being in the locker room with them, you see all these guys, and man, this is great. And I'll never forget Brad Armstrong. He came back from the gimmick set. He was selling his gimmicks, and he came back and he handed me a wad of ones. It was, "Here, kid, be Brad Armstrong tonight. Go out and have some fun." And I was like, "Well, no, you're going to." He goes, "Go ahead, keep it. Have fun." I'm like, "Well, thanks." And it's like things like that you don't forget. It's the whole Armstrong family, all good guys. And it's a shame Brad's gone, and the same Boat Bob. I worked with all of them. I get to get in the ring with every one of them except for Scott, the referee. Yes. And last time I seen him, I was joking with him. I'm like, "Man, I worked with your dad and all your brothers, and I've never been in the ring with you." And he looks around and he goes, "I'm the best one of them all." And he started laughing. But those guys, the whole Armstrong family, they were good guys. They were funny.
Yeah. So fundraising, do you have a particular favorite fundraiser that you've done all throughout your wrestling career?
Oh man, so you get hit in the head a lot, you forget a lot of things. And I mean, I would do, if people want to do fundraisers, I would do fundraisers for animal shelters and stuff like that. If anyone, hey, we need to raise money for this, but it's one of those, I gotta trust you, because don't lie to me and say, "Hey, we're going to do a fundraiser for this," and you pocket the money, and that way, so you can run a show. No, if you're going to raise the money goes all for that thing. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to. That's why the wrestling business is kind of shady. You got guys that'll do stuff like that. Say, "Oh, we're going to raise money for this," and they don't give them the money. I'm like, no.
Yeah. Why do you like to help others?
If you don't help, who's going to? Someone's got to do it. So, yeah, do unto others as you want done to you. So, I mean, I never know. One day I may need help. So, hopefully, someone's there to help me out.
It takes one to It takes one to raise a village.
I don't know, man.
Isn't that the phrase? I could be wrong about that, but somebody can who's ever listening or watching this, somebody can post in the comment section. But hey, listen, Flash, this has been wonderful having you on here. Want to say thank you for coming on Wrestling with Heart. Tell me where can people find you on social media?
You can find me on Facebook, Flash Flanagan. But as far as I got a Twitter account, but I'm never on it. I just to me, this is one of the things I hate social media. As bad as it is, I hate social media for the fact that people think it's like you got all. Remember, like now you got like how many followers you got? Well, to me, back in the day, you have a bunch of followers; those are called stalkers. And so I'm stuck in that old school mentality, and I let my work do my talking. It's like if I figure one day I may become a cult, like a cult classic. It's like you look back and watch some of the work I've done, but I don't want to I hate getting on social media and posting this and this and this. I'll if someone gives me a poster or something or a flyer and say, hey, will you post this? I'll post it on Facebook, say I want to be here. But I basically most of the stuff I'll post, I used to post things about my dog. I just someone posted. I seen someone had a thing. It talked about it had Randy Savage at a bar with a bunch of the boys, and they're all in their street clothes, and Macho's wearing his fringe outfit with the cowboy hat and all that. I'm like, that is him. I mean, he was. I remember my aunt used to work at the motel where they stayed at here in Indianapolis.
Wow.
And so after the show, boom, I headed straight to the motel so I could meet him. And he would show up. He had the cowboy boots, the spandex, the fringe, and all that. That was him. And like, you're not over unless you're this over. I could just imagine walking into a bar and you see a guy that stands out because there's no hiding that outfit, the glitter and all that.
That's legitimate him. What you see is what you get.
Oh God, I just imagine he I don't know if he was on drugs or what, but man, to go out in public like that, you were gone. You were woo.
Right. Well, Flash, thanks again for coming on. It means a lot to me, and you're more than welcome to come on anytime.
Hey, I'm sorry it took so long. As I said,
worries.
I got to be whenever anyone wants me to do these podcasts. I always tell them, man, you got to let me know earlier that day or something just to remind me because
sure,
I forget. I just too many chair shots.
Everybody's got something.
No, but it's like, and I have a ton of stories that I hate. I don't want to talk bad about someone. I don't want to talk bad about people.
No.
But I have plenty of stories of things the guy's done. But then again, I don't want to stooge them off. I don't want to ruin any home lives or anything like that. So I just keep that between the boys.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much.
And no problem, man. Thanks for having me.
This is Wrestling with Heart. I hope you found this podcast to be informative and entertaining. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and look out for the next edition.